Okay, we're back again. Computer froze up on me here, so I think I left off right around here. I gave you this new function. I said if you had this function, f of x is 7x minus 3, if I was to, this is a different function, I just made up a new one, brand new function here, okay? And I said, what would f of x minus 10 do? Well, again, you would subtract 10 to the function, so that minus 3, take away 10 would be take away 13, 7x take away 13. You don't actually have to do the math, though, on this, okay? What you need to understand is this plus 2 moved it up 2, this minus 10 would move it down 10 spots, okay? Because it's negative, so you move it down 10 spots. Now, a new function would be, how about f of x is 9x plus 1? I'm just making up, this is just a third function. I'm just making this up off the top of my head, okay? What if I gave you f of x plus 7? Well, we're still going to translate it, which means slide, okay? If you notice, the plus 2 is outside the parentheses. The minus 10 is outside the parentheses. Here, the plus 7's in the parentheses, okay? So it's still going to slide it. But it's when it's in the parentheses with the x, it doesn't slide it vertically, it slides it horizontally, okay? So this is going to be a horizontal translation, okay? And it's going to move it 7 units. Now, it says plus 7. You would think, I would think that you would think it would move it 7 to the right because it's plus 7. Something that's very simple, but it's also very simple to make a mistake on is this. Whenever it's with the x, it's always the opposite, okay? You would think it moves it 7 to the right. It actually moves it 7 to the left. So it's a horizontal translation, the fancy way of saying sliding it, 7 units to the left. You have a fourth function. If I give you f of x is 8x plus 9. If I asked you f of x minus 3, well, again, this minus 3 is going to, whenever you add or subtract, it's going to slide the function, okay? So it's with the x, it's in the parentheses, so it's not going to move it vertically, it's going to move it horizontally, okay? So it's going to be a horizontal translation. Again, that's a fancy way of saying sliding it. In this case, it's sliding it left or right. It says minus 3. You would think it would move it 3 to the left because it's minus. It actually moves it 3 to the right. So 3 units to the right is how far it's slid horizontally, okay? So that's what you need to know. What you need to understand is basically this. Whenever you add or subtract, you slide a function around. If we were to graph these, we're not going to graph them. If we were to graph these, they'd be lines. Whenever you add or subtract, it slides it either vertically or horizontally. If it's off by itself, if it's not in the parentheses, it moves it up or down. What you would think, plus 2, you'd think it'd move it up 2, it's plus. If it's minus, moves it down, okay? Whenever it's in the parentheses with the x, it doesn't move it up or down, it moves it left and right, the opposite of what you'd think. You would think it would move it 7 right, it actually moves it 7 left. You would think it would move it down 3, or move it left 3, it actually moves it right 3. Okay? Now, a little bit tougher thing is when we reflect it over the x-axis, okay? If I give you this right here, this is going to look real confusing at first, but once we do some examples, it'll be a little bit easier, okay? If I change f of x to negative f of x, okay? And again, I'll do an example here in a second. What that does is it reflects it. In this case, it reflects it over the x-axis. So for example, if I give you f of x is 9x minus 3, okay? We're gonna oppositize it. Negative f of x is the opposite of that. What's the opposite of 9x minus 3? Negative 9x plus 3. We're oppositizing the entire thing, okay? So 9x turns into negative 9x, negative 3 turns into positive 3. That reflected it over the x-axis. Let me give you another example. If I gave you f of x is negative 4x plus 7. Well, if I did negative f of x, that would change negative 4x to positive 4x and positive 7 to negative 7. And again, that also reflects it over the x-axis. Now, if I give you this though, f of x goes to f of negative x. Here, we were changing everything. We were changing the positive to a negative, negative to a positive, negative to a positive, positive to a negative. If I say f of negative x, that means you only change the x to the opposite of x. These, we were changing the entire function, everything. Everything, we were oppositizing everything. Here, we're only oppositizing the x. So this reflects it over the y-axis. So an example here, if I gave you f of x is 9x plus 11, okay? F of negative x, change just the x to negative x. So 9 times negative x plus 11. And 9 times negative x is negative 9x plus 11. And what does that do? If I was to graph this and I was to graph that, they'd be the same function, but it would be reflected over the y-axis. Okay? Let's try one more example, then we'll dive into the homework. If I gave you f of x is negative 7x plus 1. F of negative x, which reflects over the y-axis, change x to negative x. So negative 7 times negative x plus 1. Negative 7 times negative x is positive 7x plus 1. And again, that reflected over that y-axis, okay? So, when you oppositize the whole thing, everything, it reflects over the x-axis. When you only change the x, it reflects over the y-axis, okay? There's only 8 problems in this section. I'm going to do 4 of them with you right now, okay? Alrighty. This isn't racing very good. Okay. All right, so let's look at, okay, we'll look at question number 5, okay? Again, I'm only going to do 4 questions with you here, okay? They give you a picture, you don't need the picture, okay? They give you f of x is negative 2x, which is a line, and then they say g of x is f of x plus 2, okay? So they're just saying take this function and add 2 to it. It's off, and we're adding or subtracting, in this case adding, so we're going to be sliding it or translating it, okay? And it's off by itself, so it's going to slide it up or down, and it's going to move it up 2. So there's a, filling in the blanks here, it's a vertical translation of 2 units up, okay? And that's it. That's all you have to do, okay? I'm going to skip number 6. Let's look at number 7. They don't give you a picture on number 7. That's okay. You don't need a picture. I didn't give you a picture on that one. They give us a function. F of x is 1/3 x plus 3. And then they say a new function, g of x, is f of x take away 3. Okay? So, all we're doing here is this. Just like this plus 2 moved it up 2, this minus 3 by itself is going to move it. It's going to be a vertical translation again. Remember, if it's with the x, it's horizontally. If it's off by itself, it's vertically. It's a vertical translation of 3 units. In this case, it's going to be down. That's it. These are ones that you should be able to just look at and say, here are the answers. Okay? Let's look at number 9. Is it number 9? Yes, it is number 9. Question number 9. They give us a function, f of x is negative x minus 2. And then g of x is f of x plus 5. Okay, now we're still adding or subtracting. In this case, we're adding. So we're still sliding, we're still translating it, okay? But this time it's with the x. Remember, if it's off by itself, outside the parentheses, it moves it up or down. If it's with the x in the parentheses, it moves it left or right. So this is a horizontal translation of 5 units. Again, it's always the opposite, though. Plus 5, you'd think move 5 to the right. Actually moves it 5 to the left. Okay? So horizontal, 5 left. And last one, number 13. Question number 13. Okay, they give us a function. F of x is, this is the only one you really probably have to do. Well, no, you don't even have to. No, this one you should be able to look at. 2/3 x plus 4. Okay, and then they give us h of x is negative f of x. Okay, well, so we oppositize the whole function. So 2/3 x becomes negative 2/3 x, plus 4 becomes minus 4. And it's right next to here in your notes. If you're changing it to negative f of x, it reflects it over the x-axis. Okay, it's a reflection over the x-axis. Okay, and that's all you have to do. Okay, if you have any questions, make sure you email me. And again, this is due on Monday the 7th. I mean, there's only 4 questions, guys. You should be able to knock this out in about 10 minutes, okay? All right, good luck.